Welcome back to episode 3 of the Clickless series, where we try getting a trivial Chilean cookies without clicking the big cookie. Today we'll be doing some gardening, shiny wrinkler grinding, stock marketing, and we'll get some garden combos. Now there wasn't too much to record, so this video might end up as sort of a slideshow, but I should have enough to talk about. I also did get a script and there's some background music, as you can probably tell. So let's get into it. I would also like to thank Ragoon for actually looking at my video and then pointing out what's wrong with it. So shout out to him. Also point out that in my last video when I showed the evidence for Crusader Fate alignment scoring being a thing, I don't really have that much evidence. I didn't find that many samples, so you can't really say that I follow large counts. So yeah. So after the last video, I decided to do some gardening because I did have a good amount of bank and not that much more prestige in forest, so I could just normal start a building special or something and then do some garden combos. I didn't record that much, which is why earlier I said that this is gonna be a slideshow, but I have some screenshots. I also decided to go for liquid assets because I had the time to do it. And I'm not gonna do gasness assets because I don't want to do it for the 13th time, and I don't have that much stock market space, so even if I tried, I would only get like 5 million a day or something, and probably way less in practice because I'm not being that active. It's time to talk about what I was doing for scrying at this point. So I haven't completely figured out what's optimal for normal scrying, but at the time there were two ideas floating around. The first one was to just cast GFD at 17, and the second one was to cast GFD at 28 and then cancel all SEs with DI. And turns out at the end of the day, 17 is better, but I used 28 during the whole thing because I thought it had better GFD skip routes. I should probably explain why GFD skip works. So we have a pool of spells, and these are the 8 spells that GFD can cast. Now, you see these values that the number for determining GFD needs to be in order to cast them, but if we remove the spell, then it would open up more room for the other spells, and then we can keep removing them until we have a bigger chance for what we want, like Persona Fate or Stretch Time. The funny thing about the number that picks what spell GFD casts is that it's actually the same number that determines the spell's backfire or not. So there are 4 ways to find out what this number is. Sugar Lumps, the Shimmery Veil, Gambler's Dream, or Resurrect Abomination. We're not going to use Sugar Lumps because it takes way too many spells cast to actually use. And we're not going to use the Shimmery Veil because it's really hard to line up, even though I had 2 points of time when it did line up. Now we can use this to our advantage by finding a range where Resurrect Abomination would be common, and then casting the Sphere of Dream there for a pretty high chance of a free skip. Now, the issue is, there is a somewhat small chance that we lose all of our magic, but we can actually mitigate that by selling Wither Towers and then casting Diminish Ineptitude. There was one thing that could have made scrying a bit annoying here, which was the fact that I was going for a shiny Wrinkler. But the good news is that I already got a building special scry in like 70 cats maybe, which is pretty lucky considering that it only takes like maybe like 200 or 300. The other good news is that I got a shiny Wrinkler in only 4,000 pops, which is better than some people at least. I mean, Nyan's still going for hers, even though like it's been 27,000 pops in like maybe a month or 2, and she's only at like 5 shinies right now. Now, it's time to get to what I made this video for, the garden. So I unlocked the Queen Bee after everything else, and at this point I had a 5x5 garden. So I did my first Juicy Queen Bee attempt, and it didn't go so hot because I kind of forgot to unslot Supreme Intellect. And then the second attempt got nothing, but the third attempt got 2 Juicy Queen Bees. Now the thing about this sacrifice was that I was really slow because I was pretty busy, so I didn't get to kill one of the Juicy Queen Bees to have more room for growing other stuff. With some garden cookies. The first one I did was Elder Orb because I could just AFK overnight and they'll never die, so I can come back and harvest them for the cookie. And then when I came back, I got the cookie on the first try, and I think I might have converted this setup into a daisy setup. I don't exactly remember. I just remember that the juicy queen bees are harvested pretty late. Next garden cookie was Green Yeast Digestives, which we may or may not have made a whole campaign over around like 2 years ago. There wasn't much to say about this other than the fact that like I got around average rates. I think it was around 200 by the time I got it, but hey, it's nice seeing those 2-minute 57-second frenzies. Now it's time for the next cookie, the Linus Queen Bee cookie. Now the thing is, since I had the building special scroll, I figured I could just get a garden cup off here and still have a pretty good chance of getting the cookie, so I just did that. I didn't get the cookie though. I also want to note that I put my shiny wrinkler here so that I can get a few more cookies to make the combo a bit better. Also, I probably should have sacrificed the garden and then got Linus Queen Bees so that I could have a 5% higher chance of getting Linus Queen Bee cookies. I did eventually get Linus Queen Bee cookies though. Now it's time for the final cookie, Wheat Slims. I actually sacrificed my garden for this, and then before we do anything else, I also got 2 of the lump achievements I was missing, Sweetmeats and Handpicked. Handpicked did take a couple of attempts and the meaty was botched, so that was pretty unfortunate. After all the stock marketing in the background, I finally got to liquid assets, although, I think as I mentioned earlier, it was a pretty slow run. But before we ascend, I have one final thing to do. I got another building special score when I was trying to unlock Queen Beats, and don't mind how bad my seed unlocks are, I really don't know why I didn't harvest the Chrono Rice or the Guild Millet, but we could do another Queen Bee combo. Looking back at the footage, I don't really know what I was doing. I didn't need to do a cast or anything, and it would have been safer anyways because of how low my Wizard Tower accounts were. But yeah, I'm glad that happened. It was also another pretty lucky building special scry. Now that that's done, I can finally ascend. I did buy the chocolate egg earlier because I thought I was gonna ascend, but then I planned on not ascending. So, but I don't think it matters that much because the chocolate egg boost is still boosting my garden combos. But now that I have all the heavenly upgrades, I can get into a Trivigentillion, and who knows, maybe I'll get there soon. So let me know if the music choice and stuff were fine. I know my voice becomes louder and then softer throughout the video because I don't want to tone down the music that much, but I don't want to be yelling into the microphone.